Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, welcome back to Irons United for our preview of the Manchester City game, Take Two. My name's Anton, and of course, I am joined by none other than Matt. Matt, myself and yourself done the preview the last time out for the same game, but there's been some changes this time round, and I suppose the changes aren't at the fact that there still is a storm kicking about the country, which isn't great news, but I don't think it's likely that this game will get cancelled. Of course, West Ham travel to the Etihad on Wednesday evening, live in front of the. Is it on? It's on telly, isn't it?
Yeah, it's on Sky. Yeah.
And you know they have an opportunity to move 4 clear of third place Leicester City. Meanwhile, West Ham are going to try avoid defeat at the Etihad Stadium, and it'll be enough to move us above Aston Villa and out of the relegation zone on goal difference. And of course, having 5 days to digest the announcement that they face being banned from European competition for 2 years for allegedly breaking financial regulations, allegedly. Man City, in theory, have little to play for in the Premier League. How do you think that ban will affect them, Matt?
Well, it's typical West Ham because it's going to go on 2 ways. Either they're going to turn up and just not care at all. Because that's essentially what they've done. They've just written off Man City's season because there's no point for Man City now, is there?
Yeah.
I mean, if they were still in the title hunt, then they'd be like, we'll chuck everything at it. I think for them now, for Pep, they've got an FA Cup run left and they've got a Champions League run. And they could win. I think they've still got the
League Cup,
Carabao Cup final coming up.
Yeah.
So, I mean, for them, I would just chuck it all in the cups now because you're not going to win the league. You're too far behind. And the league position now doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if they finish second, does it? I don't know in terms of money how much the difference is between like second and fifth. But normally you talk about the Champions League money, which they're not going to get. So, but it wouldn't surprise me now if, as a West Ham thing, they'll probably turn up and just be absolutely livid and take all the hate out on us and try and get a bit of backlash.
But isn't it funny, though, how people think that because they're potentially banned for this tournament, that they're just going to give up with the league? Like, we need to look at the squad depth.
But it's that they've always wanted this thing of they want the Champions League.
Yeah.
And it was only like before the game was scheduled last time that Pep had come out and said, oh, that's it, the title's probably done now. Mm. Since then, Liverpool have won again, and Liverpool need 5 more wins. We're only in mid-February, and they're 5 wins away.
Yeah.
Like, they can win it with like 8 games to spare. Like 2 months of the season left, the title will be over. So there's like 0 chance of them getting the title now. The only thing they were playing for before in the league was to keep the form going and to keep the Champions League position because you don't lose it. Well, at the moment, unless it gets overturned in an appeal, the Champions League's gone. It doesn't matter to them now. Not that saying that their backup squad's any worse off. I mean, they could drop their whole first 11 and still put out a team better than ours.
Yeah.
But...
Well, then, when you think about it, there's a 25-point gap at the top of the league between Man City and Liverpool. And I suppose the best that they can realistically hope for is a second-place finish. And obviously they're going to throw everything into the 3 cup competitions because that's a way to finish off the season in style. But do you think it will work the opposite way and go out and give them the drive and determination to go and get a result against West Ham?
I mean, they don't really need it anyway. Historically, since, I don't know, we moved to London Stadium, our form home and away has been absolutely awful. We do tend to have better form away there. We still lose, but we don't just lose by as many.
But I'm talking about Man City. Do you think it will give them more drive to go out and get a result?
It's going to be one way or the other, isn't it? Because it's going to be, does that make them more pissed off and just want to go and win all the games? Or does that then create tension within the dressing room? Because, hey, we come here to play European football. You're now not playing European football. I mean, there was talk in the paper this morning that Kevin De Bruyne is going to be $2.5 million short every year because he gets add-ons for playing in the Champions League.
Yeah.
So... It's going to be difficult. They're going to have to learn to manage it. Apparently, they pulled them all in early Monday morning to have like a big talk about it, all the players.
Yeah.
It's just, it depends on the mentality of the players because, there will be some that will be really pissed off and like, we're going to prove them wrong. There's some that which will like, dump tools up, what's the point? I mean, it does kind of feel a bit like that. But then, as I said, then again, they could drop, they could use it as an opportunity because let's not get me wrong, like, they could put out their second 11 and still comprehensively finish easily in the top 4, maybe 5th. Like,
Yeah.
They're,
Well, we're
they're-
gonna come on to those players in a minute, Matt. If we look at potentially the last couple of games that Man City have had, I mean, for all the chances that they created against Tottenham at the beginning of the month, they failed to get on the score sheet for the second game in succession, something which is a rarity for Guardiola and Man City. Although they've had the 2.5 week break, it's provided them with a lot of time and, you know, plotting a strategy ahead of all the games and what they're going to do. They've got a hectic schedule coming up, both domestically and European front. And obviously Wednesday night offers potentially an opportunity to players such as, is it Phil Foden?
Phil Foden,
yeah. To go and get more experience in the league, considering he's only had 2 starts in the league this season. Add to that, Laporta, you know, his bad injury could be questioned whether or not that's what's cost City this season. Bring into the equation Mendy and Stones. They're looking like they may feature for the game as well. I mean, what do you think of some of those players I've mentioned?
Well, for me, Laporte was been a massive, massive miss. I don't know if it was back in September or October that he got injured, and at the time you were just like they wouldn't say they wouldn't win again, but you could see they weren't guaranteed to go on that winning run because Company retired last year, and it was him. He was like the mental sting behind the scenes, like in the dressing room. Like he was the guy leading the team off the pitch, so to speak, and Laporte was that critical guy at centre back that was leading. Like, you know, it was almost like he was taking over that position of the strong centre back in the pairing. And once he went, they were so susceptible to mistakes. I don't know if I'd say he is as good or as important, but like to Man City, he was as important as Van Dijk is to Liverpool.
Yeah.
Once they lost him, so for him coming back, I mean, Mendy is one of these ones where he had all the potential in the world, but he seems to have a lot of injuries.
I mean,
He always seems to be stop.
It was a bad injury, though, wasn't it? I mean,
he hasn't really come back from it.
He's never really recovered from it properly.
No, he had one big bad injury, and he's had sort of stop-start since.
Yeah.
But I said though they could drop. They've got quality in every position for a 25-man squad. So he could literally set it up into 2 teams for the rest of the season if he wanted, and go. The first team are playing all the cup games, and the second team, which normally goes the other way around, the second team is playing the league games because the league doesn't matter. But then again, that team would still win the majority of their games.
Yeah. Of course.
Oh, you're not playing Aguero, you play Jesus. Like
exactly. I mean, you've got to look at the fact that we know that Sterling isn't going to be available for the game, but they've got players, and I know we talked about this in the last preview, but it's you have to mention it. But players like Mahrez to step into the equation. He's actually only started 14 games this season, making a further 7 appearances from a sub. He's actually been involved in 14 goals, scoring 7 and assisting 7 games. That's a player that's not starting every single week for City, and they've got that in the wings, adding to the players that I've just mentioned. It doesn't look so easy, and a lot of people are. You can read on social media, you can see some people going, "This is our opportunity. This is our opportunity." It doesn't work so easily like that.
It's a big thing would be what team he puts out and the mentality of the players that he puts out. Because if he puts the first team out, they could have the mentality of, well, there's no point. I'm not going to bust the gut for this now. What's the point?
Yeah.
You're not going to get the first team players aren't going to you're not going to make anyone making a last ditch amazing tackle.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because what's the point? The Champions League gone. You can't finish there again this year. Even if they finish second, they'll get the league money for finishing second.
Yeah.
But they won't get the Champions League money. So they might as well finish 6th and have the cup run.
Yeah.
And won everything else because if the league was still an option, it'd be fine. But it's 25 points.
Absolutely.
You're not going to make that up in 13 games.
No.
Liverpool have to lose 9 games. Man City win every single game. Could be done, but it'd be the most catastrophic fate in the Premier League ever.
Yeah.
But I mean, someone like Mahrez, don't forget, he is their record signing was 67 million. It's a 67 million players sitting on the bench who's your record signing.
Yeah.
To bring off because Sterling's injured.
Do you think? I mean, again, something else we covered in the last preview was the fact in 25 games. I mean, I'm looking for weaknesses here in the City, but in 25 games this season, Man City have conceded 6 more than the whole of last season. Is that are you literally putting that down to one player, or is there a weakness there that maybe West Ham could exploit?
I think I don't want to say for everyone, but I think actually over a lot of the Premier League this year, teams are conceding more goals. Because, I mean, even Liverpool are at the point where they conceded more than they did last season.
Yeah.
The Man City conceded a lot more than they did like this point last season. But it's not just one player, but something's not been right. They push a lot higher up the pitch, and teams have learnt now. If you go to Man City, you sit with two banks of four, narrowly, force them to go wide and put crosses in, and leave two up front to hit on the counter, you'll get opportunities.
Yeah.
Because Man City have a tendency to leave two at the back. So if you leave two up front, it's their two against your two. And statistically speaking, centre forwards are generally faster than centre backs. So it does leave you the options open. People have started to work out ways to play against them. And then coinciding with the fact that, they've had the left back out. All right, they've got the kid Zinchenko, but he isn't actually a left back. He was a left mid that got put into left back. Much like, don't forget, Delph played there. He was a centre mid before he went to Everton. You can play full back in a Man City team because you don't do that much defending. But you've got a non-left back at left back. You've got Fernandinho playing centre back alongside Otamendi or John Stones, who've both got riddled mistakes. And you're playing a centre back there who's not a tall centre back. He's not a tall centre mid. There is ways to get at them. They're definitely susceptible at the back, but then they've got a £60 million goalkeeper behind it in front of them in Edison.
Makes all the difference in the world, doesn't it?
He does.
We've got Fabianski, though. We've got Fabianski.
To be fair, though, Edison has, even this year, he has pulled off, much like Alisson at Liverpool, they've both pulled off amazing saves. You can see, that's what you pay the money for. Yeah. Unless you're Chelsea and you bought an absolute donkey.
Absolutely. I mean, I'm trying to bring out some weaknesses there if there possibly is, but there's no point in trying to deny the fact that West Ham are a weak club right now. We're weak at the knees everywhere. But it's no questions that we have problems defensively, Matt. And we've had problems defensively for 3 or 4 years. I've harped on about it for so long. But in 25 games this season, West Ham have conceded 43 goals. In total last season, we conceded 55 goals. In total the season before, we conceded 68 goals. And in total the season before that, we conceded 64. It's non-stop leaking goals. And I've been calling it for a long time. I think we need the clarity. We need a bit more of calmness at the back. We don't have the player that's available there. And I've been calling for it for a long time. And I'm not saying it's going to happen, but why would you not bring... What's the benefit of maybe looking at putting Declan Rice back there and freeing him out of the midfield, considering now we've got Souček that can potentially support the position that we're looking for? What is it you think? Is this going to be the difference between a new West Ham turning up, a West Ham that's going to be rejuvenated, or is it going to be the same old West Ham with the same old defence, having the same old problems week in and week out, coming up against the big clubs and with all those attacking players?
Well, I made this point a month, 2 months ago, and I got a lot of stick for it. Since Allardyce left, we cannot defend. It doesn't matter what manager we've had, we can't defend.
Yeah,
it's like Allardyce left and Bilic came in, and everyone just forgot what defending was. Because even that first year Bilic was in charge, we didn't defend well. We just outscored teams. It's like we have defenders, and we put them in, and we don't tell them what to do. We just go, you're centre back. You know how to defend centre back. You go do your job. And the players need to be told how to play. I was watching some. I think it was Kevin Nolan was on a podcast every week, and he was like, when he was at Notts County, and he said when he was playing under Allardyce, he's like, players need to be told what to do.
Yeah.
You might get a Maverick, a Payet, where you can just say, no, you go do what you want to do. Don't worry about anything else. But he said players need to be told. It's like we don't tell them how to defend. Like the game against Brighton, we brought Masuaku on. We conceded 2 goals in 4 minutes. But in that time, Masuaku didn't know where he was playing. He didn't know if we were going to a back five or he was playing wide and left in the midfield. Creswell didn't know whether to go into left back or go to the third side of a back three. And it's like, I'm hoping that Moyes has now had 2.5 weeks. We've had 2.5 weeks off, basically. And I'm hoping he's now sat down and they've actually sat there and organised the defence. Nolan's been in over a week now, and you've got to think surely someone's going to pull that defence along. Because it doesn't matter how bad you are, individual mistakes can happen. They happen to anyone. But it's like the team mistakes when you see players that don't follow a runner, they don't sit as a unit. They watch they let the ball go behind him and go, oh, he'll get it. And the guy behind him goes, oh, the guy in front will get it, and they just both leave it. And you're like, that's got to be trained out of you, like set pieces. I say this again. Since Allardyce left, we can't defend set pieces.
No, of course
Like
not.
when Allardyce was here, I used to think, oh, that's all right. Someone that would be, I don't know what we do anymore. I don't know if it's. I think do we zonal mark? Or we do this stupid like half zonal. Half...
I don't think we do. No, I really don't think we do. No, I've actually watched it quite intensely, and I'm baffled that we just don't have that mix of defenders that can work together. They're all quite erratic players, and there's nothing wrong with that if they have a cam player beside them, a sweeper position, someone that can read the game really well. But we've got 3 defenders, centre halves in particular, that always just jump forward, that always step out of the line, dramatically step out of the line. And what happens is if they commit themselves and the player that's behind them hasn't got the ability to clean up that mess, who is also a stepper out of that line, it causes absolute chaos in the back line of our defence.
Which does make it confusing that you got with Winston Reid, let him go out on line.
Well, I can harp on about it. Oh, I know, but I can harp on about that. But equally, I do think the move for him is a good move. But for us,
you was just explaining in the centre backs, that brings me back to we had Reid and Ogbonna.
Yeah,
and that was that Ogbonna was the one that went, and Reid was the guy that sat behind. And if Reid wasn't in the team, Collins done it.
And Reid could play,
I'll sit.
Absolutely. Both of them can do that, and both of them could play out from the back, where Ogbonna can't particularly play out. I think Ogbonna's capable of making a really good, strong tackle. I think Diop's good at making a decent, strong tackle. Balbuena, exactly the same, but there's no one there that can work in partnership. And the only player that's capable of doing it that I've seen on several occasions, that we have seen on several occasions, is actually Declan Rice, because he has got that ability to play the ball from the back line, who can offer that. I'm saying all this and I'm not particularly too sure that Moyes is going to even make this change. It's just, as a fan looking at it, I'm thinking, why would you not? You've got to think of the Tottenham game, Matt. We were struggling when Mourinho had his first game, and then he brought Diop off and he put Rice back there, and it was a total different ball game. Now we could say that was a mixture of Antonio coming on, but equally, they didn't really have a massive amount of threat the minute that Rice sat back there. But, now that we're talking about West Ham, of course, and, in particular, Stell's come on quite a lot and said that Moyes is choosing based upon historical decisions, players that should be good, so therefore he's going to give them game time. What changes, if he was going to make any, does Moyes need to make for this game?
Well, it's going to entirely depend, first of all, what formation he plays. Because as I said, for me, teams that have caused Man City problems this season have gone 4-4-2.
Yeah.
Much like we did away at Chelsea. You go 4-4-2, you play it narrow, the width of the box, 2 banks of 4, and you say, well, if you want to come out, you've got to come down the wing and put crosses in, and you put 2 up front. But Moyes, especially in both his stints here, historically, away from home, plays 5 at the back. And I suppose if he's going to play 5 at the back, then you could play Rice in part of the back 3. But the problem is, I don't like. For me, he's got to pick one formation and stick with it. It's all right having. It's all right having the second formation as a backup. Just to be able to change and adapt during the game. But he can't flip flop every other week and go, right, this week we're starting this formation. This week we're starting this formation. He needs to find a general. Like I said about the Masuaku thing, he came on and he was like, well, am I playing as a wing back or am I playing as a left mid? And he didn't know. It took him like 10 minutes to sort it out. And by that point, they scored 2 goals.
Yeah.
It's if you play narrow against Man City, they'll with 3 in the midfield, they'll cause you problems. Doesn't matter who plays in there because you won't have the width. Because Man City spread the play.
Yeah, of course. And I think we're sitting here talking about a lot about the defence in particular, but we've got the new signing, Bowen, 20 plus million from the Championship. I don't think we're signing a player in the January transfer window not to play him. But then I've read some comments. I've seen Moyes talk about him, and he says a lot about need to give the boy time to settle in. Is that Moyes saying that he's not going to look to potentially start Bowen for the Man City game? And if he is saying that, do you agree with him? You've got to have a look at the players that are coming back from fitness as well. So the rumours kicking about saying that Anderson's he's back in training. He's looking pretty fit, feeling good. Are they going to hold off for him for the Southampton game? You've got Antonio to add to that mix, and of course you've got Sebastian Aller. But the key guy we're talking about right now is Bowen, and with the comments that Moyes has made, what do you take on that?
I think maybe if we'd played the game 10 days ago, I think maybe he might have been like, he's only been here a week, he's barely got his feet in the door. And I could kind of understand what he was saying. But it's 2.5 weeks down the line. Like, he's had enough time to adjust. I mean, people have been saying, Noble's been saying that, his tenacity and his ability in training has been fantastic. And he is. I've read comments, and someone, I think it might be Nigel Atkins, who's his manager, was like, "Oh, a lot of people have overlooked him Premier League teams previously, because they were like, well, apart from scoring goals, what does he offer? But if all he does is score goals, I have no problem because we need a goal scorer."
Yeah, absolutely.
And the perfect time to play him. The problem is for West Ham is that we get a player and we think he's the saviour, and we big him up so far, and it doesn't work, and you're like, oh. But if he comes in, he's coming in away at Man City, you might as well play him. There's no pressure on him whatsoever because he's Man City. It's not like he's playing. If he's better off giving him his debut away at Man City than he is at home at Southampton. Because Southampton at home, he's expected to produce and do something amazing. Whereas away at Man City, he's got no pressure on himself whatsoever.
Yeah. Because
no one expects anything. Like, realistically, we'd love to get a point. No one's expecting it. Everyone's saying, Man City will smash us because they always do. So what's the harm in giving it to him?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I've mentioned there about Anderson coming back from fitness. Antonio's looking like he's ready to rock and roll. Hilaire's been struggling of lately, but then he's not been supported. So, it's a little bit mouth-watering looking at these players that are potentially in the lineup. You've got Bowen, Anderson, Antonio, Hilaire. What do you do with those options?
That's the thing. It actually gives you options. I was sort of chatting. I was on the chat on Alf's video yesterday.
Yeah.
And they were talking about Hilaire, and I made the point that he said, "Oh, he looks lazy, he looks sluggish, not interested." And I made the point, well, he hasn't actually had any time off. Haller's played every single game. He played all the cup games as well, because he was the only centre forward. He was playing one up front in a front three that wasn't a front three because the two wingers were having to track back and defend, so he was getting battered. He's playing up front on his own. He must have played 30 games this year already, and now having Antonio back and fit, and Antonio's had 2.5 weeks of extra fitness now, which is a blessing in disguise. And with Bowen coming in, and with Anderson, he's had another 2.5 weeks, and Yarmolenko's back in training. All of a sudden, you've now got options. The pressure now comes off of Haller's shoulders. I mean, I'd be tempted to drop him against Man City. Not in a sense of that I think he should drop him because drop him. I think the way we should play, I think you should play Antonio and Bowen up front, and let them run at the back four. I said, play two banks of four. Whoever those banks four are doesn't really matter. I'll make them defensive. Have Anderson on the bench to come off, just to give him like a little bit extra time off, so he's ready for the Southampton game. Have Antonio and Bowen up front, let them run, and then you can bring Haller on for the last 15 minutes.
Yeah.
But the guy
it's a good option though. And I think it is resting. It drops such a harsh word, but I think there is a point of it where we need to look at
even if it's mentally,
mentally resting.
He's probably mentally battered because he's playing up front of his own. He's probably just.
But there's a good opportunity though, Matt, to try something new because West Ham are needing something new. Bring him in off the bench, and then try our best to get something from the game. Because in my opinion, out of the two games coming up, I mean, I don't want to get cocky here, but this is the one where you could look at it and go, we've got a reasonable, well, I was going to say, actually, I'm not going to say it. I was going to say we've got a reasonable history against Manchester City, but I suppose if you look at the last 8 results against them, or the last 5 in particular.
Don't look at the results against them.
I mean, we're going back 5-0. We got beat at home.
I think, was it when Moyes was in charge that we lost there 2-1? We were really unlucky.
2017, yeah. That was the one where Ogbonna scored. That was the last time that Rice was actually starting as centre-half. He actually started the game at centre-half.
And it was like De Bruyne putting 2 worldies across. And
absolutely. That just absolutely killed us. But for me, it's an opportunity. Listen, before we carry on, keep your comments coming in. Let us know your comments on who you'd like to see start against Manchester City. Let us know your reasonings behind it, because it's really intriguing, because I still think as a fan base we're not too sure what Moyes is going to do. There's so many, we've got options now, and it's nice to have options, but we are in the relegation zone on points, and we need to really try and obviously get some points on the board. And a lot of people are talking about goal difference, but goal difference won't come into the equation unless we are actually progressing up that league on points alone. You're going to say something there, Matt?
I was going to say, I did see an article today that they were saying, I think it's the first time in months we've only got one injury. It's Wilshere. Wilshere's the only person injured.
I think Yarmolenko's on his way back, isn't he?
He's training, though. I don't think he's match fit, but he's actually in training. He's actually training with the squad.
Yeah.
The only guy that's not in training is Wilshere. And you're like, all of a sudden, the options come available. And you're like, oh, we've got half a decent squad. Because it was a decent enough squad there. It's just, as always, we've got like the worst training facilities in the fucking division. And surprise, surprise, everyone's injured all the time.
Yeah,
but it's actually, I wanted to play Man City in the original game because I thought we had a better chance then. But in terms of the rest of the season, it's probably done us a favour the extra 10 days.
I think it has.
Because people have had time to get fit. People have had time to get, because regardless of whether he was fit or not, Antonio would have played 10 days ago. And he probably would have played 90 minutes.
So I suppose resting him would have been...
So he's had another 10 days of actually getting fitness up and not being rushed back. Anderson's had time. It was talks 10 days ago. We're only saying now that they're saying he might be on the bench today. But they were saying that 10 days ago.
Yeah.
So he's had another 10 days. We've had 10 days of the team actually working. Well, it's not 10 days. They've had a couple of days off. But it's 10 days that they haven't been rushed back into a game because that's like our Achilles heel, isn't it? We do it every time. We did it with Fabianski and he was out for another month. We have this thing of we rush players back into fitness and then we bring them straight back in the team, run them to the ground, they get injured again. So in some ways, having that extra 10 days has given them the chance to get a bit more fit. And you'd hope that they're not going to break down as quick because they've had the extra training and the time off.
Yeah. Listen, before we get into potentially looking at what we hope and what we think Moyes will do with his starting 11, just a bit of comparison. We've got Manchester City currently sitting in second place to West Ham's 18th. City have won 16 to West Ham's 6. City have drew 3 to West Ham's 6. City have lost 6 to West Ham's 13. They're averaging over 2.5 goals per game. We're averaging just over 1 goal per game. But an interesting stat, and the one we've kind of spoken about, is they're averagely conceding over 1 goal a game, and we're close to 2 goals a game. So there's an opportunity there for us to, obviously, like we have said, we've seen some potentially negativity or some weaknesses in that City team. But you've then got to look at all the other stats. The top goal scorers, Aguero with 16. Up next is Sterling with 11. Obviously, he's missing. Gabriel Jesus is 9. The top assists is De Bruyne, 15. I mean, he can slice penetrate anything he wants, basically, and he will penetrate. On top of that, then the next place is Riyad Mahrez, who's not even starting every single game. Passes, they've got Fernando. He's totally bossing it in the midfield. He's commanding. He pings a pass here, there, and everywhere. But an interesting one here is the highest tackles per game, and this is out of the two sides. And Declan Rice sits at top of that with 78 tackles. So there's loads of comments in here. Sorry, guys, there's absolutely loads of comments, and it's quite tough to sometimes stay focused when you can see them. We'll come on to them near the end of the show, which is actually soon. But when it comes to starting lineups, we're agreed at Fabianski.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I am calling for Rice to drop back. I don't think Moyes is going to do it, and I think it's maybe going to take another 1 or 2 games for him to see that. And it's just going to take for a calamitous performance again from someone in our centre pairing or both the centre halves for him to actually eventually make a change like what he did against Tottenham. So if he's not going to make a change, are we looking at Ogbonna and Diop in the middle of the park?
Yeah, I think that's the standard too, isn't it?
Yeah. Are we looking at Fredericks and Creswell?
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, I just wish Zabaleta was like 5 years younger.
Yeah.
Because the only reason Fredericks get in that team is because he's got the pace. Yeah.
Then we move into midfield, so it's looking likely it's probably going to be Rice and Noble. Are we agreeing on that? I'm not saying I don't want
I'd play Rice and Souček.
Yeah, and so you're saying drop.
Souček.
So you're saying that Moyes will drop Noble?
Yeah, because he hasn't got the legs. He'd be on the bench, and with 15 minutes to go, he'll take Souček off and put Noble on.
Yeah.
Unless he's going midfield 3 again.
But that's interesting, though, Matt. That's interesting, Matt, because he's not got the legs, but he's had a good rest. And this is a decision that Moyes is going to make, and whether or not he's going to have balls, and that's one of the decisions he is going to make. Will he drop Mark Noble for this game? Because he's not got a history of doing it. Get your comments in. Let us know your thoughts. Do you think you should drop Noble for this game in particular? I mean, I can see loads of the chat saying that they think Noble will start the game.
It depends on the formation. If he plays 3, I think like play Brighton, he'll play all 3 of them.
Yeah.
But for me, like...
So you're going Souček, Rice. Where you going left, right? What are you doing after that?
It'll be Snodgrass one side. And
will they start Anderson?
From the sounds of it, no. In which case, I would play Fornals on the other wing.
Are you going Antonio and Haller?
Antonio and Bowen.
And Bowen, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so 4-4-2. Guys, let us know your opinion on what Matt said. I suppose the only real difference for me is I'm going to tell you a team that I'd like to see pretty much similar. Drop Rice back into the centre of the midfield, put Souček and Noble in. And then I'd like to see Antonio, and I would like to see Bowen start with Anderson, actually. And just go for it and just see what we can possibly do. But if I had to make the real change there, I would say that obviously Rice would be in the midfield, drop Noble, and instead of Fornals, I would actually play Anderson because he's had time to recover. It's just whether or not Moyes, again, like I said, has got the balls in, or is he wanting to unleash him at Southampton?
See, realistically, I've said 4-4-2, but I can see him playing that 4-3-3 again. We played at Brighton.
Yeah.
And he'll play Rice, Souček and Noble in the midfield, with Souček being that one that pushes further up, and then playing Antonio, Bowen and Haller.
Yeah.
He'll play Bowen and Antonio either side of him. Yeah, which wouldn't be disastrous, but then it's the midfield that I'd worry about because it'd be too narrow.
Yeah. Please, we've talked about our potential discussions on the starting lineup. Now it's time for score predictions. Is it going to be a tough one, Matt? You know, is there a storm coming from the West Ham fans? There is a storm coming from the West Ham fans. Is there a storm coming from the West Ham side?
I'm going to stick my prediction from last time, which was 1-1.
Right, okay.
I fancy us to get a point. I actually do, to be fair, which is weird. Because normally I'm like, no, we're going to get battered. But I actually do fancy us to get a point.
Yeah. I just have to remain positive. I'm going to go for a season-changing 2-1 victory to West Ham. And let's see what we can do. Get your comments in. Let us know your thoughts on the predictions we've put in here. Matt, before we go, let's have a quick look at all the comments. We're not going to get through them all. There is a lot in here, but we've got Daniel Knight saying same old, as the manager is a yes man. There's an element of that I totally agree with, in my opinion. I do think he is a little bit of a yes man.
Yeah, that's why I come in, because no one else would have answered to him.
Yeah, we'll see here. Interesting. Loads of comments. I think there's ones that are missing, actually. So there was one there saying that more than a podcast are actually filming live just now. Where is George Michael from Gary Page? Daniel Knight, all 10 outfield players stood in the goal line and Fab's blocking the gaps. Can see that already. Forever blowing bubbles. I think this season is the worst in a while for us defending crosses. Matt's covered that. Absolutely agree with you. Let's have a look here. Gary Page, forever look at our goals conceded for the last few seasons. We have had an issue defending for a while now. Couldn't agree with you anymore, Gary. It's awful, and I've ran through the amount of goals we've conceded in the last 3.5 seasons. And currently, I think I said we've conceded 43.
It's more than 2 goals a game. That's the worst thing.
43 in 25 games. So with 13 games to go, it's not looking great with all the teams we've got to play. So let's have a look here and see what everyone else is saying. Everyone's saying hello to each other, which is nice. Forever blowing bubbles. Xandy Silva has just scored for another 23s. Yeah, he's banging in the goals again, which is good. Good to see. Nice to see a young player doing that, and hopefully at some point he can step up to the plate and give us something to look forward to. So good question is here, if we lose, then what? Gary, I don't think there is a what, to be honest. I think we move on to the Liverpool game because I think a lot of people expect us not to win absolutely anything.
As I've said, I still think, like, the rest of the fixtures this season, there is chances to be winnable. But for me, I literally looked at the rest of the fixtures for the season and went, forget Man City and Liverpool, just get them out of the way, try and not get hammered on the goal difference, and then you can attack the rest of the season.
Yeah.
which really isn't a mentality you want. I hope it's not the mentality that the team have got, but that for me, that's what it is.
Absolutely. Hammerwell, even in all, thought Stell was hosting it again, so switched on 20 minutes late. Hammerwell, you know Stell so well. If you ever get a chance to meet him for having a drink, just tell him you're going to be there 2 hours before, and
he might be on time.
He might be on time.
Might be on time.
And that is not even an exaggeration. He might be. Jazz has said, I don't think Moyes will start Bowen as he wants to get the City Liverpool game out of the way and doesn't see us getting anything. Jazz, I hope that doesn't happen, and I think that would be a massively negative approach by Moyes and West Ham, and I think we need to try and...
But as I said, there's no harm in starting him because he's got nothing to lose.
Yeah.
Bowen's not under any pressure. Like you just said, no one expects anything.
Yeah.
So that's the perfect time to, bring him in, but, give him his debut and there's no pressure on him because no one expects anything anyway. It's a win-win.
Yeah. Mr. Thong is saying I would pick Haller. Jason Haller might be up to impress the Pep. You never know. He's sort of player that he would probably take and probably transform. Joan, and I was worried when I heard Moyes talk about Bowen. I'd be shocked if he starts. Yeah, that baffles me when people make those decisions. Don't know if he's making excuses, but hey ho. Forever blowing bubbles. Mick, do we keep it tight against City because goal difference could come into it? Forever.
Yeah,
I know.
Yeah,
well, do you know what?
Massive.
It is, but Matt, it's not in consideration right now because we're sitting in.
But there's still a lot of teams. There's still a lot of teams around us that have got worse goal difference.
Yeah.
Like there's even teams in front of us that have got worse. That's the thing. There's teams that are like 5 points better off that have got a worse goal difference.
Yeah, of course.
The goal difference is going to be massive. There's still 13 games to play, and I was already saying the other day, our last 3 games are Watford at home, Man United away, and Villa at home. Mm-hmm. And you could come down to the final day, us and Villa have decided who stays up. Like goal difference could be massive. So if they can only go there and lose 2-1, all right, you've lost, but you've only shipped 1 goal in the goal difference. It could be massive come the end of the season. Yeah,
absolutely, mate. John Lally, should City be relegated over Premier League financial rulings? We've had do you know what, John? Check out the video from beforehand because Stell did a video on that yesterday. So it's worthwhile having a look at that. We won't go over that today. D. Lee, if we stay up, we should be looking to offload Haller or sign some players that can play along with him in the system to match. I agree with the second part of that question, to be honest, Matt. I think we need to actually play to.
We never do we? That's the problem.
Strengths.
We never do. We
Yeah.
never sign someone and go.
The
last time we played to someone's strengths was Andy Carroll.
Yeah.
And we had Andy Carroll in the team. Like even under Village, if it didn't matter what formation we were playing, what way we were playing. As soon as Carroll come on, you went long ball, which people moaned about, but at least you're playing to his strengths.
Yeah, absolutely. People are constantly commenting about saying whether they would want. I mean, we're skipping quite a lot of comments here because there's a lot of you on watching live and a lot of you are commenting, which is good to see. Joan is saying Souček to score a header. Snoddy.
He was unlucky in the first game.
Yeah, Mr. Thong. Snoddy would feel better in midfield defensive with Noble. Let's have a look here. There's people talking about cheese and ham toasties. Don't really know what is going on here. Will he start Lanzini again? I don't think he will for this game in particular. But I think a rest is going to do Lanzini good.
He must be like the fucking dog's bollocks in training because he doesn't put it on the pitch. I'm not being funny. Do you not remember when he came in last time? When he came in last time, when they sacked Village, he was like, "If you don't run, you will not play."
Yeah.
That was the first. That was like the first in his first interview. I'm pretty sure you can go back and find it. It's one of the first things he said in his first interview. He was like, "If you don't run, you won't play." Lanzini doesn't run, and he starts him every game. I don't understand what he's got.
Yeah.
So that's not a bad team.
Yeah, I'm just looking at the teams here. Jason's put up his side. Have a look at that. Get your comments in. Let us know again your comments on your side. Jazz is saying he would not start Lanzini or Ajeti. Keep them on the bench every game so they don't fit into 4-4-2 or 4-3-3.
Lanzini does work if he's got the confidence, but his confidence is so shot that he's just not doing anything. Like he's worried to make a mistake.
Arsenal fans are watching our channel. Interesting. Joan. More comments there on the side you're coming in with. Like I said, please get your comments in. Let us know your thoughts on what we said tonight about even players. So some of the topics we've discussed tonight are Rice dropping back into central pairing of defence, Noble being dropped, Souček and Rice starting in midfield together, Bowen and Antonio starting, Haller rested. Give us your opinion on that. Also, let us know your predictions and your starting lineup. Obviously, both sides have come back from their winter break early. West Ham follow the game up with City against against Liverpool.
Away on the Monday night.
Away on a Monday night, again in front of the cameras.
That's
Richard Walton, our good friend who loves watching us and loves commenting so positively. Anton, thankfully, he's not picked the real team. Do you know what, Richard? Maybe I should pick the real team and maybe we might start getting some results, mate.
they don't think about the fans, do they? Because like we've got Man City away on a Wednesday night, so everyone's got. I mean, to be fair, the club said they put on 3 coaches, but everyone's got to try and get up there on a Wednesday night, middle of the week, and then we've got Liverpool away on a Monday night.
Yeah.
Like 5 days later, it's like, come on now. People probably got to take annual leave off work, or
they do, mate. They do. Yeah. I know we know loads of people that travelled up there for the first game. It was just a total disaster.
Yeah.
Long Dark Tunnel saying 2-0 to West Ham. Gary Page is saying 6-0 to West Ham. I'm assuming not.
6 Man City.
Jazz is saying 2 each. D. Lee is saying 3-1 to City. Welsh Hammer, 1-0 win. Good man. Like to see that. Jason, 2-1 West Ham. Good man. That's what I've said. Gary, will we really win 6-0? Gary Marks, 2-1 West Ham. Lanzini double. Could you imagine he came off the bench and showed everyone wrong?
I'll take that. Wouldn't mind it.
Forever saying
2-0 loss. You know what? Honestly,
no, you wouldn't take that, mate. No, you wouldn't. No, you wouldn't.
If the option was only you're going to lose, then the smaller we can lose by is the better. Obviously,
I would rather a 1-0 loss than not 2-0 loss.
You know what I mean? Like, because the way Man City play, and I've seen them at home plenty of times, and you're like, I sit there and say, I'll take 2-0, and like 3, you know, it's like 20 minutes in, you're 2-0 down. You're like, Jesus.
Metal in both legs, 4-1 West Ham Bowen hat trick. Yeah, okay. Hammerwell 3-1 City and VAR winning it. Jason, but my head says 4-0. Loads and loads and loads of comments, guys. Hold on, I think there's a couple more here. JP WHU TV 3-0 City. It's Jason saying it's all about the Southampton game, but we'll see. You know, we've got loads of videos coming out this week, so make sure you are obviously subscribing to the channel. Let us know your thoughts on everything, like I said, that we are been talking about tonight. When the video does go up live, please make sure you put a comment in after it. Please hit the thumbs up. Make sure you are subscribed to the channel. If you haven't subscribed to the channel and you are not logged in to YouTube and you click that subscribe, it won't let you do it, and you just need like a Google Gmail account, I think, to be able to do it. I think there's maybe, I don't know if you need another or just an email address maybe.
Yeah, just an email address.
But you just need to log in and hit that subscribe button. It's funny because we've actually seen that nearly 50% of people that watch this don't even subscribe to our channel, so it's absolutely crazy stats. So make sure you get subscribed, and then beside that at the top there's a little bell that lets you know notification when we do videos. Who is the man to watch for Man City, Matt, before we go?
I'm going to go Bernardo Silva.
And I'm going to...
I think he's going to take Sterling's place.
Yeah. I'm going to go for Mahrez. You know, see what happens there. Who's the man to watch for West Ham?
I'm going to say Bowen, but it depends if he plays or not.
Yeah.
Like, if not, Antonio.
I'll be really disappointed if Bowen doesn't start. I really will be. I'll be quite deflated, to be honest. I'll be deflated at least if he doesn't get a chance. I'll also be deflated if we don't see Hilaire. If Hilaire is starting and Antonio's not supporting him up top. But listen, that's a whole nother topic for a whole nother day, for a whole nother conversation. Let's see how we get on. Make sure you are supporting our club. End of. Anyway, let's call it quits. He's been Matt right there. I've been Anton. This has been Irons United. Subscribe, like, comment, blah, 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 blah. Come on, you Irons.